Ready Check Radio.
Stand by as we get ready to serve up all your news this week in the world of gaming. Welcome to Gaming Gumbo. Why, hello, Internet. It's Saturday at 7 p.m. Eastern, and that means here on Ready Check Radio, it's time for Gaming Gumbo, your weekly gaming wrap-up. I'm your host, Mike Ybarra, a.k.a. Magic Man. As always, we're doing the show live. Twitch.tv/Ready Check Radio. Love having you stop by, join us, give us a follow over there on Twitch, and hang out, give your opinions live during the show. But if you are watching on YouTube, listening on Audible or Spotify or anything like that, thank you so much. Give it a like, a subscribe, turn on those notifications, thumbs up, reviews, all the good stuff that feeds those algorithms. But most importantly, if you like what we do here, tell a friend. It's easy, it's fast, and it's, in fact, free. Nice way to support us. This is episode 112. You can check out ReadyCheckRadio.com for the backlog of all 111 episodes of Gaming Gumbo before this, all the episodes of The Relic Grind if you're a Final Fantasy XIV and Square Enix fan, and even from way back when, a few things about Blizzard. I'm sure we'll talk a little bit more about them maybe in a few minutes. Joining me to talk about that fun stuff, Mr. Dom Greco. What's up, sir?
Hello, how are you?
You got a little bebop going in the background there. You gotta get that mushroom.
Yeah. Gotta get it. I think it's over here. Am I reaching the right way?
Oh, yeah, you just went a little too far. Okay.
Got it.
Close.
Yeah, okay.
Close.
Yeah.
How you doing, my friend?
Doing all right. So you said this is a weekly thing every Saturday, 7 p.m. That means it's time for what? That's not true. We know that.
Yeah, well, I mean, especially because there won't be any shows, either the Relic Grind or Gaming Gumbo now for the next 3 weeks. Because
Fantastic.
I hit next week I have rehearsals for my show, and then I also I'm commentating Final Fantasy trading card games first Materia Cup in the United States or in North America next weekend, both Saturday and Sunday, so that'll be fun as we kick off the FFTCG competitive season. And then I go straight into Tech Week and then performances. So there would not be any Relic Grind or Gaming Gumbo for the next 3 weeks, but I'll be streaming some oddball stuff here and there, and then, of course, Torchwick and Tark and Faye and everybody else will be streaming as well.
We missed last week because I went to an AJR concert.
Yeah.
Right? And then Yod here went to go see Ghostbusters.
Yes,
right?
I was watching Ghostbusters.
Yep.
How was Ghostbusters?
Ghostbusters was very good. I did enjoy it a lot. They are setting up for the long run on that, I think.
They better be, because to me, the first 15 minutes was the best part of the movie.
I mean, they've got other movies coming out. They've got an animated series that's actually tied into the movies, unlike the last one. So
it'll be interesting. It'll be interesting. I mean, I've let him talk here, but that guy right there, that's Yod, resident artist of Ready Check Radio. Joining us to chat some gaming stuff. So we do have some things that I put on the show notes. We are going to get to them. And we're taking a look at April and May video game releases. What are you hyped for? Kind of that thing we usually do or try to do once a month or so, unless news just is better than looking at the upcoming schedule. And we may not get to that today because I did put a few news bits in there that were worth covering, and I'm sure we'll take a few minutes and of show time. But had to throw up an article on MMO Bomb this afternoon.
Yeah, something last minute came up there, didn't it?
Yeah, a little last minute, because some people just don't know when to shut up.
So what is this? What is this thing here?
So
Mike?
I'm gonna say something first that we need to set aside, right? Tipping culture here in the States. I don't know about elsewhere in the world. You can let me know if you're overseas. Tipping culture here can be a little bit of a divisive topic, right? I mean, you go to a restaurant, somebody waits on you the entire time. You're used to tipping in that environment, but do you throw $1 at the barista at Starbucks, or do you not? Do you tip the sandwich artist at Subway, or do you not? I've literally seen tip jars on CVS counters, and I'm like, all you're doing is ringing me. Like, I don't get it. We're gonna set. We're going to set
They're
no,
not even
Yod.
bringing you
No,
up anymore.
no, Yod. We are going to set that all aside.
Okay.
I don't care what your view is. Yeah, exactly, Dom. Just out the window. We are going to set aside all of that. I don't care if you have a pro-tipping or an anti-tipping view on anything. Okay? But Mike Ybarra, former, you might know that name, former president, Blizzard Entertainment, no longer. He left, right? The official stuff was of his own accord, but he had previously said things like they were going to have to drag him kicking and screaming from Blizzard, and then he left Blizzard. So, how much of it was him voluntarily leaving after the Microsoft acquisition and how much wasn't? It doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. He was the leader of Blizzard Entertainment. Perhaps, Dom, being the more Diablo player than Yod and I are. However, we are starting to catch up. Both of us were thinking along the same lines this week. Diablo Immortal, Overwatch 2.
I have a phone.
Hearthstone, World of Warcraft. I don't think it's unfair to argue that Blizzard is one of, if not the most, nickel and dimey companies when it comes to gaming. Of course, there are others. EA's got its fair share, all of that stuff. But I just gave you basically everything Blizzard has on the market right now, and they either require subs or are reaching for your wallet via season passes, cosmetics, odds and ends, microtransactions, nickel and diming the hell out of you, right?
Isn't there a Warcraft mobile game too going on right now?
Warcraft Rumble, which
Yeah.
probably is coming to PC. Imagine that.
Gee, you don't say.
I'd rather have it on PC. It's okay. But, yeah.
So the ex-president of one of the most nickel and dimey gaming companies decided to take to Twitter and say the following. I've thought about this idea for a while as a player, since I've been diving into single-player games lately. When I beat a game, there are some that just leave me in awe of how amazing the experience was. At the end of the game, I've often thought, I wish I could give these folks another $10 or $20 because it was worth more than my initial $70, and they didn't try to nickel and dime me every second. Games like Horizon Zero Dawn, Gears of War, Red Dead Redemption 2, Baldur's Gate 3, Elden Ring, etc. I know $70 is already a lot, but it's an option. But it's an option at the end of the game I wish I had at times. Some games are that special. I know most will dislike this idea. By the way, I realize we are tired of tipping and everything else, but I view this different from a pressure to tip type scenario many face and give feedback on. Dom, I think at a very quick, cursory examination of the statement, you're like, yeah, that'd be nice to throw a couple extra bucks at some devs that made some things that you really, really enjoyed.
Sure.
Very surface level examination. You're like, oh, yeah, cool idea. Moving on.
Mm-hmm.
I think if you spend any longer than 30 seconds thinking about it, though, the entire idea just categorically falls apart.
Yeah. I have never finished a game going, wow, I wish I could just give them more money. Never.
Right?
Never. If I enjoy a game, right, and there is things to purchase in it, sure, I will support them and I will continually buy stuff for them.
Ding! That's chat's already saying it, and I said it in the article I wrote up. We all kind of view purchasing DLC, expansions, cosmetics, season passes as the I really like what you did. I'm going to throw a couple bucks at you, Yod.
Those deluxe editions.
Mm-hmm.
It's it's a matter of, yeah, I really enjoy this game. I want that extra skin while I play. And if they want to charge me a few bucks for it, I'm okay with that because I'm really enjoying this game.
I really like how he points out in this tweet that they didn't nickel and dime me and then proceeds to rattle off a list of single-player offline games. They didn't try a nickel. Not that single players can't nickel and dime you. They do, they can, and they have.
Yeah.
But he rattles off Horizon Zero Dawn, Red Dead Redemption 2, Baldur's Gate 3. I mean, if any team deserves a tip, right? It's Larian from Baldur's Gate 3. Well, I mean, now they laid off some people too, if I'm remembering right. If not, then I apologize to Larian Studios there for that comment. Elden Ring, who has a DLC coming up. And it's going to do very stupid well. They're going to make a shit ton of money on that DLC. Mm-hmm. This is the ex-president. This isn't me. E-list, D-list, internet gaming dude at best. Right? Saying, hey, it'd be really cool if I could tip some game devs. Throw a couple of bucks at them.
Right.
And on its surface, you're like, wait a minute. Okay, Dom, if I wanted to tip the creator of Axiom Verge, seems like a good idea, right? I know the creator of Axiom Verge is going to get my tip. It was a one-person team.
Yeah.
Right.
We're talking about the ex-president of Blizzard. Tell me that wouldn't just be another revenue line on the P&L for Blizzard. The devs going to see that tip. Get the fuck out of here.
Oh, and even better, or actually worse, is if you fall into the trap of these people are receiving these tips if they do well, then they can give them less pay. Because that's how the monetary system is built, is that tip pay is a different pay scale than regular pay.
Isn't this just shifting the onus of supporting your employees with a livable salary, Dom, to the consumer? Isn't that what that is?
Yep. I mean, so you look at a game like V Rising, right? For example, V Rising went into early access at like $20.
Stunlock Studios.
Right? Yeah. And then they just announced that they're going to be doing the full launch of their game this year.
Yeah.
In a couple months. Right. So they made a statement and they let you know. They said, hey, the price of this game is going to increase. So get it now at our early access DLC or early access price of $20 or whatever. And then it's going to double in a couple weeks when we go live. And I was like, wow, that's really cool to know. So like I was able to tell my friends, anybody that wanted to purchase it was able to get it for that cheap price or whatever. Then I went, they have a bunch of DLC that I never bought. They have like $40 worth of DLC.
They actually have a really badass, like the most appropriate crossover collaboration coming up too with their launch.
Yes, they do.
V Rising and Castlevania. Yeah, you got to go kick Simon Belmont's ass. I was like, that's damn appropriate.
So because they gave you the heads up and didn't just like try to sneak it under the radar and be money hungry, like launch the game and then all of a sudden the price is doubled and nobody knows why and like they weren't expecting it. Instead of doing that, I was like, wow, they have like $40-$50 in DLC. I'm going to buy it. And I bought it. So that's what you do when you support creators that you enjoy.
Yeah. Havoc in chat saying, I don't even want to spend $70 for a game. Tipping, eat a dick. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's it exactly.
We're all fighting against the $70 price point, which still has its, people going back and forth on whether that's going to be the new norm or it's just not going to make it because the $70, the pushback is too much from consumers. I don't know. We'll have to watch that one continue to play out. But let me just go out on a limb here and say that maybe a better idea, Yod, to support devs would be to support companies that pay devs a livable wage. Or maybe, I don't know, share with them some of the record profits the company makes instead of laying them off. Or maybe if a product does really well, companies would be incentivized to make better products so that they and their devs get weird or get extra cash. I don't know. These are just crazy, crazy ideas. I know. I'm thinking way outside of the box. That's the thing, right? You send a tip to Blizzard. Do you think for one fucking minute the devs are going to get it?
No.
Right? And then, by the way,
in the shareholders' pocket.
Yeah, and by the way, if I send a tip to a game like fucking Overwatch 2, right? How on earth do you... That game has dozens, if not hundreds, of employees working on every aspect of that game.
Right.
Who gets the tip? Who's the dev in this sentence? Unreal. It was just
I wanna-
so. Go ahead, Dom, because it was just so tone deaf to me that you were literally the leader of the most nickel and dimey. I want to just get in there and I want to live in your wallet company. You did not share any of these types of thoughts publicly, while you wouldn't dare, because you would have been immediately escorted from the premises by shareholders. They would have flown there just to walk you out. But now you're like, hey, let's support game devs. I'd love to throw a couple extra bucks at game devs that make these things that aren't nickel and diming me and are really good games. And where was this when you had a chance to actually improve those types of conditions for devs? Come on.
He would actually have to do something.
Yeah.
Something that actually supports the gaming industry instead of just making headlines for himself.
Yeah. I was going to say, I think me and you are probably in a little bit of a different situation here, Mike, but if we wanted a tip, somebody that worked at Blizzard, we just call one of our friends up and take him out to dinner or
Exactly.
something.
Well, if enough people pitch in a few pennies, they can give them a pizza party.
Yeah, and we are talking about a company, by the way, which we literally just talked about on the last show we had of this, that all the bonuses for the Overwatch 2 team were made zero. Remember, because the game wasn't performing well, even though previously bonuses at Blizz were based on the performance of the company, not any individual product. It was, we're all a team, we reap the benefits. No, now that's not it. That's not it anymore. Just so fucking... And this is, by the way, on top of another tweet he sent out where he recognized that gamers and subscription fatigue is a thing. I worry consumers already or will soon face subscription fatigue. So many subscriptions across various services adds up very quickly, especially with price increases.
My head hurts, Mike.
Like, I almost passed out. My eyes rolled so far back into my head when I saw that. This wasn't just some, podcast local yokel tweeting a very high level, didn't think about it from it. This was the ex-president of fucking Blizzard. Are you kidding me? Anyway.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, you know how I tip companies? I buy their products.
Mhm.
And when I like product A and they're going to release product B and product B looks interesting, I buy it.
You don't say.
Yeah. And you know how I give a little extra money? I buy the DLCs and stuff like that. And you want to know how I give a little bit of extra money? And I've done this for Torchwick, and I've done it for Havoc and my other brother Lou, and I've done it for Jason Winter. I buy people copies of games that I know they wouldn't buy themselves because I really, really thought the game was very, very good. And here you go, Dom. I know you're not going to buy this, but dude, if I buy it for you, you'll feel obligated to try it, and I know you're going to love it.
Yeah. What was that one game we played? Damned, I think it was. I don't remember.
Oh, the one where my jumper, the spacebar thing didn't work.
Yeah.
That was, I was in the middle of having keyboard issues and I had to go buy another one, but I hadn't got out. Yeah, looking at you, Division 1 and 2. I think I bought both of those for Havoc. I bought when they when they made the new Call of Duty Modern Warfare. We're on Modern Warfare 3 now, but not the original OG Modern Warfare, but the latest Modern Warfare number 1. I bought 5 copies of that stupid game. 5. Because I was having a blast with PvP, which I don't normally. So I bought Torchwick a copy, and I bought my son Michael a copy, and I bought my brother Havoc a copy, and I bought my brother Lou a copy, and we played the hell out of that for months. I spent like $250 on copies of a game there. Tip you, get the fuck out of here, Blizz. And I know, I'm giving Blizz like the brunt of this because he was the ex-president of Blizz. Blizz themselves didn't do anything wrong here, right? This is just an ex-president espousing things on the internet, but it's just irony of ironies that he has the audacity to point out, hey, they didn't nickel and dime me. You mother... I think Mike Ybarra, Dom, you got to correct me on this one, but I think at the time, Mike Ybarra was one of the people that crammed a bunch of that shit into Diablo Immortal.
I think he was just trying to nickel and dime everything, get battle passes into everything. So,
Yeah, from the
I
company
could
that
be wrong
charges a
myself.
sub and has a cash shop. Yeah.
But he's turning around now, finding like all his old codes, that he had from working at Blizzard, like 1 year of game time. He's turning around and like tweeting those out and like doing giveaways and stuff. And it's just like after the comment you just made, like
Yeah. Well, he's trying to save face now.
yeah, exactly.
I think we're going to end up seeing him at some small company or opening his own studio or something, and he needs the goodwill. Not getting it from me. Not with actions like that. Hey, let's talk about another subject very near and dear to my heart, and that is physical media. I absolutely love it. You guys all know that. We've talked about it many times. You all mock and laugh at me. But when in the coming physical media apocalypse, I will be the only one watching and playing what I want to play. The rest of you will be asked out because Netflix dropped your favorite show. Nobody else picked it up because your favorite show's dumb. And
Mike can still watch Dogma.
And I can still watch Dogma. I can. I'll be one of the few in the world.
I've got my DVDs of Dogma.
Yeah. So Ubisoft kind of revitalized this conversation this week. So last week, the original The Crew went offline. And as a big a kerfluffle as it has been on the internet, you knew it was coming, right? Now, that really sucks when an online-only game goes offline. We all know it'll happen at some point with World of Warcraft, at some point with your favorite MMORPG, your favorite live service games. That will eventually happen. Should it? Probably not. There should be some game preservation tools.
Unless it's City of Heroes.
Well, that's true. But that's
it just happened to the Wii U and 3DS. It literally just happened like this week or last week.
Well, here's the fun thing about The Crew. Ubisoft is allegedly not just shutting the service down, which they already did about a week or so ago, but now people are noticing in the last 24 hours that their license for the game, which albeit is useless at this point, right? You can't boot up the game and play it anyway. But your license for the game is being revoked. They're stripping away the licenses a few weeks after their shutdown. So obviously that flags that Ubisoft has no intention of like doing some private or peer-to-peer servers or just letting people do whatever. No, they're actually stripping the ownership of a product you paid for from you.
Well, I mean, this is the company whose director of subscriptions stated a while back that people need to get used to not owning the games they own. So, wah, wah, wah.
Yeah, the message at the top of the games library page that players have been seeing is, you no longer have access to this game. Why not check the store to pursue your adventures? And it's been moved from the individual player library to inactive games library. And booting up the game directly from an installation directory will still launch the game, but only the demo mode.
So, it being an online game, I don't have that much of a problem with them moving it to an inactive area, but the stripping of your access code to it is going a bit far.
Right. And from let's just say from a functional standpoint, this doesn't matter, right?
Right.
The revocation of a license for a game that is offline realistically does not matter. If they let me keep my license, I still can't play it.
Right. So it's kind of.
But just the idea of a company revoking licenses to something you gave them money for, while not a big deal here when it comes to The Crew itself, a shut down game. The idea that a company would feel the need to do this and have the capabilities to do this, I think is what is of bigger concern to a general gaming audience. It really flags you don't own this.
Yeah, no, it really is. It's something to consider, and I kind of want to segue into another topic that we're going to discuss. with NetEase coming back with World of Warcraft over in China, digital media. Does that mean that these people get their accounts back? That they had all this time and all this stuff and money and whatever they put into it and unlocks, and like they haven't really said anything yet, right? But this is where we go with this digital media, and this is where that stuff becomes important to the players. So I don't know.
What does happen if an online game goes offline and then gets resurrected later on?
Mm-hmm.
Is your account still there? Because I mean, from what I gathered, Blizzard does keep your data for a certain amount of time on games like that. So, because I can't remember. I think it was the Draenor expansion for Warcraft. I went back because I got a free alpha or beta pass for it, but I hadn't played Warcraft since the one after Cataclysm. The one after Cataclysm. Which one was that?
Pandaria.
Yeah, I think I tried Pandora, but I never actually got into it. So it was like an entire it was years. But then when I went back into it, all my characters and all the stuff was still there. So some places do keep that. But if you're stripping people of
and that was, remember when we talked about the whole Ubisoft and the executive, I can't even remember who it was off the top of my head, saying, about digital own to get used to it and stuff like that. Remember, I felt on that show that while I may not agree with their point of view, they were a lot of headlines were wildly taking that out of context, if you remember. Right. They did not come out and say, hey, get used to it, tough guys. Like, Tommy Tough Nuts, you don't own it. Like, that's not what they said, but that's what a lot of the headlines portrayed at the time. What they had actually were talking about was, like, what you just said, like, if you go back to your game a year later, your progress file and stuff's still there. That stuff's not deleted. You don't lose what you've built in the game or your engagement with the game. So it was about feeling comfortable with not owning your game, granted, I may not agree with their overarching opinion on that, but to be fair, and I said this on that episode, they didn't exactly say what most of the headlines ran with on that one.
Right. On the other hand, though, this seems like what everybody read into those headlines is what they're doing now. They just shot you in the kneecap and they kicked you in the nuts by removing those codes from you.
Yeah, I mean, and games preservation as a whole, I think, is an important topic. This type of action is going to piss enough people off that at some point somewhere, Dom, in the world, some country and it's going to be in Europe, right? It won't be here in the States because we're always the last to actually look out for consumers. We just have to get enough European friends to get enough Americans angry, and then we get some of the protections our European brethren and sistren get. Some company is going to, or some government agency, probably Belgium, right? They're going to push back on this. They already are to a certain extent. They've done a lot of loot box legislation and things like that. But digital ownership in Europe is very different than it is here in the United States. And actions like this that get enough people to vocally get mad very quickly does tend to lead to a country taking, maybe a smaller one at first, albeit, taking action against, hey, you can't do that. You can't do that type of stuff. Will it here? I don't know. The Crew is The Crew. It is by far the biggest game that has had this type of blowback, but it is not, one of the biggest games in the world, which is where the blowback would be the most felt, Dom.
Yeah. I mean, like you also look and you have with the Wii U and the 3DS that have just wrapped up, right? A lot of those game servers shut down, all that stuff. There are other servers and stuff coming up that are like open source replacements that they're having. I don't want to say the name of like the big one that's going around. I'm sure like it's pretty easy to find, but I just don't want to be part of that. You mention its name and then it gets shut down. I don't want to be the cause of that. But like they're going through and they're recreating these servers. They don't have your Nintendo ID information because those are stored on the Nintendo servers, but they are having like the Wii U chat, your friends list, and they're like 50% or higher and coming back with a lot of different games like Mario Kart 7 and like Splatoon and Mario Maker, and all those kind of things, that you'll be able to play some of these online games and go back and do it. And by revoking the license, you wouldn't be able to do that kind of stuff
And
unless
it's a
you're
step
pirating the game.
It's a step they didn't have to do. That's the thing. This is
Right.
another one of those
Right.
stupid self-inflicted wounds, right? You got bad press because you were shutting down an online-only game that a bunch of people played. You got that bad press, it came, you shut down, and the bad press went. Like, there is really no point. And Havoc in chat mentions, how much do you want to bet that maybe this was an accident? They nuked the servers, and this was a byproduct of something connected to something, and we do it all the time in software development, right? You're like, oh, shit, regression testing is pretty important. It's such a, who cares? Like I said, functionally, it doesn't matter, but you just brought to the forefront of gaming a debate about ownership, when there's already that debate going on. Sony just faced a ton of backlash, Yod, because people bought Discovery programs on their streaming service. Not that they were paying for a streaming service and the shows weren't going to be there anymore. They specifically bought programs. And then Sony was like, yeah, we're going to take all the Discovery Channel stuff off. Even if you bought it, doesn't matter. We're taking it from you. Now, they reverse course. Rightfully so,
yeah.
But it's just another example of you bought it. I see back and forth in chat, oh, this is an MMO going offline. Yeah, if you look at this in a vacuum with the crew, functionally, whether you or not you have the license doesn't matter. But if I buy the season of Mythbusters from Discovery Channel Sony streaming service, I pay cash to own that digital episode or digital season. We've seen this. It's virtually the same move. Sony was going to revoke the license to products that you bought. Backlash stopped that from happening, but they were planning to do it, Yad.
Yeah, and I mean that's one of the problems with streaming services and stuff like that is that eventually they're going to cycle through it because they don't want to expand their servers, or they don't see people actually watching it, or they just don't like it anymore. I don't know why. Sometimes, it's just the way these things happen, and it sucks. And like you said, preservation is very important in this case, because and I'm going to swerve a little bit off to a tangent with shows and stuff, because we were talking about shows that Sony had that they were going to remove. Certain things you could only get digitally these days, such as, for instance, I've got this little buddy here, which I got recently. He is from a show called Final Space, and the owner doesn't have the rights to the show. So Warner Brothers took it off of every streaming service. Don't know why, they just did. And there was no physical copy of it. So there's no way for you to actually watch Final Space legally these days. It's a preservation. Yeah. Okay. Tangent over.
Chat going back and forth. Let me know when it happens to a single player. It has happened to single player games.
Yeah.
I mean, the Discovery thing is not a game, but that's a perfect example. What was it? Forza. There was a Forza one years ago that they were not only delisting, but it was disappearing from people's library as the licenses were revoked because, and I think the time of the music licenses and the real car licenses in Forza were causing issues. Because they weren't renewing some of those licenses. I apologize. I don't remember off the top of my head the spot issues with that one, but it has happened to single player or even multiplayer offline, games. So this is not the first, and this certainly isn't the last time this stuff is going to happen.
And the other thing also is with your coveted single player games, we know that everything is always connected to the internet at this point.
Yeah.
So your coveted single player games that you think are sheltered and impossible for this to happen, what happens when they remove those servers that those single player games have to be connected to?
Yeah, and that's
You're done.
every time a single player game launches with online requirement connectivity, we recycled this same argument.
Right.
Like,
right.
why? This is just another
Right.
way to make sure that I'm tied to your service, that type
Right.
of thing. So annoying. Hey, we're gonna skip upcoming games this month. We'll cover it when we come back a month from now. But I did want to get a few thoughts from you, Dom, on a couple of Blizz things. I know you're kind of looking forward to seeing the fallout and how good or bad Overwatch 2 Season 10 will be now that they're opening up all the heroes and doing some of the things there that they should have done from launch. But PvE totally nixed. Don't worry about it. We're not doing that anymore. But there are a few other Blizzard things. You teased earlier that, yes, NetEase and Blizzard are now back in bed together after a really bad breakup in the last quarter of last year, basically nuking Blizzard products from China. Now they will be coming back by this summer as they renegotiate a deal. And I can't think of anything that's changed between now and then besides the Microsoft merger they knew was happening, finished, so they already knew about that. And oh, wait, there isn't the CEO of Activision that they had at NetEase a huge problem with in these negotiations. They didn't name him by name, but they heavily implied that there was a jerk behind the scenes. That person seemingly either not a jerk anymore or maybe not with the company. I'm not sure because I don't want to make any accusations. So what do you think of them coming back? The Pandaria remix thing, which is kind of like their next, it's the PvE limited time version of Plunderstorm coming up soon. And then the War Within can't be far away. There's a countdown for the 20th anniversary collector's set pre-order next week. How you feeling about Blizz, Dom?
Yeah. I don't know. There's something that got taken out of me when all of that stuff happened, and I don't find myself going to Blizzard quite nearly as much anymore. I haven't completely distanced myself. Every once in a while, I will still log into Hearthstone, and I will play like a random game of Battlegrounds, maybe like once a week. That's even putting it generously. It's probably closer to like once every 3 weeks. This recently, it's been like 1 or 2 times a week or something. But I don't know. Warcraft, I'm still logging in. I'm still playing some stuff here and there. I log in like once a month to get stuff done. It's not a whole lot. So some of these things are exciting on the surface level, but then I sit there in the reality and go, I'm probably not going to get to these things. I'm probably not going to play Pandaria Remix. I've barely played Plunderstorm. So I didn't hate Pandaria like everyone else. I think Pandaria was one of the best storytelling jobs World of Warcraft has ever done. And I think a lot of the hatred, I think we mentioned this on an episode of Snowbound, I think a lot of the hatred that people had was the way the story unfolded because it was spoiled by Chris Metzen at the BlizzCon it was announced. And it's like, you already know what's coming, so that whole story unfolding of it slowly revealing and becoming was just lost on everybody, and they were just filled with anger and hatred. And I think that would have played out so much differently to just experience it for what it was without like knowing. But then at the same time, we have Metzen back, right? And War Within sounds really enticing. So I'm sitting here looking at this collector's edition that's going up in, I don't know, what is it, 3 days?
Yeah, on the 17th, 4 days.
Hours. Yeah. So, I'm sitting here going, maybe I'll buy it.
What a sucker. Make sure you hit that tip box too when you check out.
Oh, no.
When you hit that checkout, you make sure you tip them. Make sure you tip them. I like the NetEase and Blizzard making up thing from my perspective. Yeah. I also really like in the comments from NetEase's CEO and director, William Ding. he specifically went out of his way to mention trust and mutual respect. He said, celebrating our collaborations, we are thrilled to embark on the next chapter built on trust and mutual respect to serve our users in this unique community that we have built together. Yeah, I mean, remember, like, NetEase tore statues down, right? Like they ripped their orc statue down when the partnership fell apart, and it wasn't their CEO, I forget who it was at the time, but they made comments saying, like, when this story can be told, you are all going to find out how big of a jerk somebody behind the scenes was when this can all be told. We know who you're talking about. We know who you're talking about.
Yeah.
I really hope these players get their accounts back. I hope.
I think they will. Like
is-
because NetEase was keeping that for a duration of time, but I remember covering it when they broke up, that if Blizzard did find another partner, which we knew they were going to, there's too much money not to, right?
Yeah.
We all said on this show, like, money will find a way here. They weren't going to transfer the accounts to this other company, but I don't think that NetEase has destroyed those accounts. So it will be interesting. We'll find out in the summer for sure. And I'm sure that there's going to be an FAQ before then that will specifically address this. We don't know yet, but I think, if I had to guess, if I had to bet money right now, I would say if you were like a Chinese World of Warcraft player, you probably will still be able to play your account. I would imagine that stuff wasn't, it's not like China has some of the consumer protections that Europe has either. So
yeah.
Okay. Hey, I'm going to bring this up. We talked a lot about this on MMO Bomb's podcast yesterday. So if you like movies or TV series or things like that based on video games, I encourage you, head on over to mmobomb.com and check out the Always Online podcast we posted. You'll see it right on the banner there at the top. You don't have to go anywhere for it. We'll abbreviate this discussion because I just wanted to get some takes from you cats here. The Fallout show being really well received. Dropped on Amazon Prime, 24 hours ago, 36 hours ago, something like that. Being really, really well received, not only by critics, but also by audiences and Fallout fans all over the world. I'm not particularly a Fallout fan. I play it. I enjoy it. I don't think I've beaten any. Torchwick's an insane Fallout person. Absolutely, he would live there with a Pip-Boy on his arm, not a problem. Total vault dweller. So, Torchwick, turn that mic on, and we'll have you report from the great beyond here. Have you watched any of the Fallout show yet?
I have not.
But you're totally going to, aren't you?
I was trying to find some time earlier today to binge it.
I know.
I didn't have that time, but I was trying.
I knew it. I knew it. I knew it. So I figured we'd do a little quick round table, and I'm going to and Torchwick, you can chime in here too. We'll come back to you on it. Your favorite and least favorite video game, movie, or TV show or anime adaptations. Dom, we're going to start with you. Who does it the best and who does it the worst?
Oh boy. I will say that I really did enjoy the Last of Us TV series. I think that's probably the bar of like the best you can do. They made minimal changes to the story that kind of needed to be done to reflect how things could be viewed on screen, such as the way the virus worked. So they didn't need to have face masks on basically the entire time. That was a minor tweak that made it that much more cinematic and whatever. I think that's probably the best example I can give. Probably one of my favorite ones. I think my worst one has to be Mortal Kombat 2, the movie. I can't think of any video game adaptation that's worse than that. And I will say the one that I'm looking the most forward to is the upcoming Hunt Showdown TV series that's supposed to be very dark. So,
all right, Yod, what do you got?
So I've got several different levels of stuff here. The worst, I've got to completely agree with Mortal Kombat 2. I was trying to see it when it came out in theaters, and I got kicked out of the theater because there was too many people there, and I couldn't sit next to the person that I wanted to sit next to because people wouldn't move over. So the two of us got kicked out of the theater, and I still want my money back for that. It was that bad.
Chat, by
There's
the way,
also-
there are 8 episodes in the first season of Fallout.
Yes. There's also the movies that are terribly done, but I will still watch them over and over again. And those are like the Resident Evil movies.
Yeah,
Like,
buddy.
They're horrible movies, but I will keep watching them. Just have them on in the background or something, because they're like, action splashes and stuff like that. And it's just like, whatever. It's not Resident Evil, but it's something.
The Resident Evil movies are terrible,
yeah,
but they're
yeah,
amazing.
Terribly good.
I spent probably 15 minutes on the total podcast yesterday trying to evangelize those movies to everybody.
I don't think
Absolutely.
the first one is bad.
They're all bad.
okay.
Shut up. They're all bad.
I mean, no, they're bad, but they're like this corny.
Yeah. I
they're
mean,
like
I
bad,
have
thing.
my like close-up magic overhead camera here and the big table one over there, but I was messing around with a smaller one here for close-up magic review videos that I'm going to start doing on the channel here. And I brought down all the physical media for the show and was putting it under the camera. So I had the pile of Resident Evil movies. Yeah. 2005 Doom movie, says Chirac. Oh, God.
That one was pretty bad. But not as bad as Mortal Kombat 2.
The Street Fighter movie, the game, the movie
Street
was also
Fighter,
terrible.
Yeah, that was terrible. What was Double Dragon?
Oh, that was awful.
Terrible. But I'll sit there and watch it. It's so bad, I'll still sit there and watch it, like the Resident Evil movies. But now, mind you, Resident Evil Mila Jovovich movies, not the Raccoon City one. That one was just bad. Of course, the good stuff, the Mario movie, the latest one.
TurboTax Live full
The
service.
animated Mario movie is one of the. It's Mario. It's pure and simple. I did watch the first episode of Fallout, and that is really well done. I'm going to finish watching that. I still need to finish watching Twisted Metal.
Yeah, Havoc really likes that one.
Yeah, that one was really well done. Of course, the Castlevania anime, amazing.
Oh, yeah.
I even enjoyed the new one that they did.
See, I didn't enjoy the new ones as much. Nocturne?
Right. It wasn't as
Yeah.
amazing, but I like the connections to the original.
Yeah, as soon as I watched that, I had messaged Torchwick. Torchwick and I have watched the original multiple times. And as soon as I had watched it, he hadn't had a chance to watch it yet. And he said, how'd you like it? And I was like, it's not that it's bad. It's just not anywhere near as good as the Trevor
Right.
storyline and everything.
It doesn't live up to it.
Yeah.
Of course,
Borderlands is a movie. That's not a show.
Yeah,
and I
Borderlands
don't
is a
know
movie.
the release date, but they probably still have
it's soon.
Yeah, it's this year.
Yeah, well, I think it's actually within the next couple months.
Yeah. August 9th, 2024.
Halo Season 2 just
The official
wrapped up.
trailer is out if you want to check that out.
Yeah. Halo Season 2 just wrapped up. I could not get into it. I mean, the first season was kind of bad. It was like there was some decisions. I'm like, why did you make this decision? But I still was able to watch through the entire season. I watched the first episode of the second season, and it's like, what just happened here?
Well, when they launched the Xbox One, wasn't their whole presentation about TV and movies? What happened?
Cha-cha. I know what the answer to this is going to be.
Yeah,
This is why I don't want to toss this over to Torchwick, but I know what's about to happen.
There's so many video game, TV stuff, movie stuff, out there.
And chat,
I could go through all of it, but we don't have the time for that.
Chat, I know you're going to think that this is set up, but Torchwick didn't even know that I would be asking on the show here today. Here we go. Torchwick.
Okay.
Yeah, it's my turn.
It's your turn. What is Some of
We'll
your
get the bad out
favorite,
of the
some of
way.
your
No.
favorite and least favorite video game movie/show adaptations.
We'll get the bad out of the way first. I was gonna say the Resident Evil movies as well. They literally have a character named Kmart, and I love that. So it doesn't get any worse better than the Resident Evil movies.
All right, we're
You
friends.
clearly
The-
haven't
the-
watched Mortal Kombat 2.
We're friends on this one so far.
No, see, Dom, Resident Evil is a different level of bad. It's not terrible bad. It's bad good.
Yeah, it's so bad that it's good. That's
Right.
Yeah.
But
Where
Mortal Kombat 2 is just
it's
bad.
just
bad.
bad.
It's like, no, I want my life back. from
Torchwood, you have a homework assignment. Go watch that movie, Mortal
Okay.
Kombat 2.
I've seen the first one.
Yes, you have.
No.
Um,
The first one doesn't
There's
compare
a
to the
reason why you probably never got to the second.
Takal
Oh,
says,
boy.
yeah, the second MK is make you want to fight strangers in the street bad.
Yeah, that's it. That's the way. Oh my god.
I mean, and we're not even talking about the Mario Brothers movie. Just
No.
letting you know,
No, yeah.
not the
it's
new
low-hanging
one,
fruit.
not the new one, the '90s Mario movie.
Yeah.
All right, continue,
It's worse than
Torchwick.
that. Yeah, sorry.
The best
Here we
has to
go.
be
Here we go.
Arcane. I absolutely love it.
Yep. I knew
I
it was
absolutely,
coming.
and you know that I don't like League of Legends. I don't like MOBAs as a genre. Just not for me. So I wouldn't touch that with a 7-foot pole. But at the pestering of one of my friends, I watched Arcane. I told them I'd watch 2 episodes. That was all it was going to get out of me. And then I watched the entire thing in 3 days. So it's, if you haven't seen it, you don't need to know anything about League of Legends. It's going blind is fine, but you have to watch it. It's one of the best shows I've ever
That
seen.
may or may not have come up on the MMO Bomb podcast as something that my child keeps recommending to me, and I have yet to watch.
We'll have to watch.
And I
Yeah.
knew it was coming out right here.
I do want to check out the Fallout show. Not because I'm a fan of Fallout, but because I'm a huge fan of the actor Michael Emerson, who's in the movie. He played Benjamin Linus on Lost. He played Zepp in Saw. He's on a show right now, Evil, that's coming up with their final season right now, where he plays a really interesting character. So I'm excited to see him in this.
Can I give a shout out also to Edge Runners? It did Cyberpunk better than Cyberpunk.
Edge Runners was good.
Yeah, this Edge Runners basically saved Cyberpunk. Like,
Yeah,
the Edge Runners show was what drove people to come back and see all the improvements that they had made to Cyberpunk.
Advent Children. Can't forget about Advent Children.
Oh, yeah, that came
was
up
good.
yesterday. Yeah.
King's Glaive was also really good.
Yep. Yeah, we talked about that. If you have
Fears
your
Within
favorites,
isn't that bad.
if you have your favorites and least favorites, by the way, do me a favor, go over to mmobomb.com's podcast that we did on this topic, and either on the YouTube video or on the site under the video, put in your question of the week answers on there, because I use those for the next show. So next Friday's show, we'll go through your answers. And this was like a huge portion of that show yesterday. So if you're watching this and you want to throw those in there, we'll include them on next week's MMO Bomb show. That'd be great. You help me out. Give me a couple extra question of the week answers there. Baldur's Gate 3, this is just kind of a little news hit for you. It's an interesting little tidbit. Baldur's Gate 3 swept and won every big Game of the Year award that you basically can. Elden Ring came close to doing this, but Baldur's Gate just did it. They swept through the Video Game BAFTA Awards. They got 5 awards there. Baldur's Gate 3 winning a shed load of awards is old hat, but it does mean that they have picked up basically every bigger Game of the Year award that you can possibly pick up. So congratulations, huge BAFTA sweep, and a bunch of awards all over the place. All over the place. Congrats to them. And then, Yad, I know you wanted to talk about this, the cops busting this Japanese guy. What the hell happened here?
Real quick. So apparently, an interior designer out of Japan was making a better living making bootleg Pokemon for Switch games, Like he would take your save data and modify your Pokemon however you wanted it, and then give your save data and switch back to you, and you pay him for that. Apparently, he was making a better living off of that than interior designing. So either Kyoto, Japan is really fucking expensive to live in, or they don't need interior designers there, or he's really bad at interior design.
And now he could be facing jail time.
Yeah. For modding Pokemon to make a living. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Finally, just 1 week. Just 1 week after saying that they were hard at work on their sequel, on their next project, sorry. Ascendant Studios, the developers of Immortals of Avum, if you have no idea what that title is, you aren't alone. It was that fantasy-looking first-person shootery game that I thought could have looked kind of neat when it first came out, or when it was first announced. But then it started to like just put out these generic trailers of meaningless action, hip-hop music, and it ended up just looking like every other, B-rate first-person shooter game out there. Like their trailers looked and sounded like everything else, and so kind of got lost in the shuffle. And I totally forgot about it until it came out, and it was like, not being reviewed well. Well, they said that they were hard at work on their next project, and then a week later laid off 45% of their employees.
Yeah.
Well, they laid off 45% of their staff like a week or a month after Immortals launched.
Right.
Yeah. And now go ahead.
I hate to make jokes in a time like this because it's a really serious thing, but they just basically said we want hard mode for working hard. So
Ooh. Is it Game Plus time? But yeah, I think I remember us talking about this game when we saw the first preview for it.
Yeah. And literally
And I
a
was
month
like,
after
that's-
it launched, they laid off about 45% of their staff, and now the reports now are that they've basically furloughed the majority of their remaining employees.
Which is worse than being fired, because you don't get any hours for pay, but you also can't apply for unemployment.
Well, it depends
Or
on your
get a-
state. Yeah.
or your severance package that you're supposed to be owed.
Well,
None of
that's
that.
company
Yeah.
specific, so.
Yeah.
Not surprising that the studio would be having problems. I don't, and layoffs suck. Been there. But like the game has a 69 on Metacritic and a 6.2 from users. It's one of the very, rare times that everybody just agrees it's, stunningly mediocre at best.
It just fell off my radar.
Yep. Let's slide over and do games of the week. They could have used some tip money. Oh, yeah. Games of the week is the way we end every episode of Gaming Gumbo here. It's where all three of us are going to recommend a game to you. Could be a video game, board game, mobile game, card game, whatever. Something we're playing now, we've played before or haven't played, but think you should check out. And when you're typing away in the comments about all the topics we talked about today, you let us know who gave the best recommendation. Yod, you're up first.
Well, I mean, we talked about it before. I talked about it before the game. The show. I'm playing Diablo 4 right now. Go play some Diablo 4. It's Diablo. I mean, it sucked me in. I want to play the levels. The story keeps rolling on. I didn't know when to quit out. It was like 6:30, and I was like, shoot, I got a show to do.
And we'll go to you. We'll go to you, Dom.
has nothing to do with it being on Game Pass, right?
Oh no, completely not.
No, nothing. So recently, and I say recently, 3 days ago at the time of recording here, they just announced a sequel to a game that I really, really enjoyed, and that is Slay the Spire 2. So I'm going to recommend going back and playing the original Slay the Spire.
Fair enough. Torchwick, I'll let you in on this. What do you got?
Well, I didn't have one prepared.
I know.
Go play Final Fantasy 14. It's a great game. Yokai event's coming up again, so everybody's gonna need that help.
Yes. When River Flies, there is a sequel coming for Spire.
Not the yokai.
I'm gonna give it to Guilty Gear Strive, or not Guilty Gear. Yeah, Guilty Gear Strive. Fighting game. Torchwick's been streaming a little bit this past week on their own channel. Check it out. He can plug it on the stream after this, and give you the link and all that fun stuff. So Domina and I have had his streams on while we're working and stuff like that, just chit-chatting and stuff. We're doing a lot of Guilty Gear Strive fighting. Well, Domina, my wife, decided she was really liking this, and her and I have always dabbled in fighting games, but never really sunk meaningful time to really, really get good at one. That's more Torchwick's thing. Loves the fighting games. But so she wanted to try this, and so it got installed on the PlayStation 5 this afternoon. And literally, as I queue up the show and get the pre-show music running and everything, I'm going to be crude for a minute here, I hear like a kerfluffle upstairs. Something's going on, and I'm like, well, I got 10 minutes, pre-show's going. I'll go check what the hell's going on. I thought maybe the dogs got into something or something like that. And as I'm on my way up the steps, I hear, God damn it, this is fucking bullshit. I'm like, oh my God, what am I about to walk into? And I open the door into the kitchen, and I walk from there into the living room. And it's just Domina getting her ass kicked in Guilty Gear Strive, swearing at it like she's a sailor. So apparently it's a good game. That'll be my recommendation for the week. Remember, no podcast for the next few weeks. Sorry about that. Doing some acting and stuff like that. So we won't be having either the Relic Grind or Gaming Gumbo for the next 3 weeks, but we will be having all of our usual streams. Final Fantasy TCG streams when I can get some live locals going, Torchwick and Tarkoth on Saturdays, Faye on Thursdays, and maybe I'll just pop in and out and do some close-up magic stuff. After the show, we will have Torchwick doing the stream. I mean, it's weird to introduce you now, right? Because, like, you've already been talking on the show.
I think you should do it anyway.
How you doing?
I'm doing well. How about you?
You finished Final Fantasy VII last week, so you got to kick off another game older than you. What's it going to be today?
We're going back to a burning hellscape in Pennsylvania called Silent Hill.
Oh
my.
Hitting a little of the original Silent Hill. Big fan. Speaking of movie game adaptations, first one was good.
Oh,
Second one was...
that was a better segue. I should have used that.
Yeah, you should have. That's why I get paid the big bucks.
You get paid?
Now, Streamlabs has been acting up lately, so I have a feeling when I hit end record here, it will kill my stream, even though Streamlabs will not actually show me that the stream has been killed. It'll still be streaming. So if I hit this end record and we all go away, I love you all very much. Torchwick will be live in just a moment, and we'll be back whenever we can. Yad, until then, where can everybody find you?
Yada works on the socials. OtakuDomeComic.com on Fridays, although I'm taking a break after this past Friday because I got to make merchandise for MomoCon, which I'll have a table at. And, of course, here at the monthly wrap-up show, Gaming Gumbo.
Dom.
You can find me down below at It's Sister.
I'm Mike Byrne. You can follow me right there, Magic Man 1. But more importantly, follow at RC Radio, and you'll know every time we're actually going live, and you can come and hang out and game and chit-chat. Stay safe. See you on the servers.